The alternate protection plan portion of the bypass risk assessment worksheet lets you document what the means are going to be, what means are going to be used to replace the device that has been bypassed. This section is required when you have no redundancy, because when you have redundancy, then you're going to use that redundancy as the initiator of the safety function when you're in the bypass state on the other device. But if you're not in a non-redundant mode, you're going to need to do something else. And the alternate protection plan worksheet helps you thoroughly and completely think that process through and document it. It begins by asking what process monitor you're going to what process variable you're going to monitor. So that might be a field gauge, it might be a BPCS value that's coming through the basic process control system. It might be a sight glass if we're talking about levels. Then we need to know what is the manual trigger point for the action. This needs a little bit more thought because you might not want to use the same set point as the safety instrument and systems, because humans are slower to respond than machines. So you're probably going to want to give a little bit bigger of a margin of error. You're going to want to document who's going to be responsible for performing the variable monitoring. You're usually going to bring in a separate dedicated operator to perform only this function, whether it's in the control room or out in the field. Then you're going to want to list who is going to be responsible for taking the action once the process variable being monitored is outside of its safe limits. In addition to who, you're also going to document what action are they going to take and how are they going to take it. After that is a few questions about the efficacy of what you're doing with the alternate protection plan. So first off, we want you to consider and document whether or not you're going to be able to perform this action within the process safety time. If you can't, then the manual means of protection, the alternate protection plan, is probably not going to be suitable. The next item is the question of whether or not there's sufficient independence between your alternate protection plan and the normal operating staffing of the plant. You can't ask the normal operating plant staff to be part of your alternate protection plan, especially on the monitoring side. Perhaps field operators, board operators might be able to respond to a communication to take an action, but the actual monitoring would distract them from their normal activities. And then finally, the last question on the checklist is has a bypass risk assessment been performed, and is it acceptable if it's required? And in a lot of cases it's not required. So that information tells you, walks you through the alternate protection plan development and also documents what it is.